Okay, it's Eric Deloach with another show, of course, your residential book author. We have a very special guest. I will admit she is a role model to me and so many out there. A successful, best-selling book author, award-winning book promoter, and a as we say, black women, black girl power, also owner of her own book publishing company. And we're not just talking about your self-publishing. We're talking about the real, the next level. So with no further ado, we'll go ahead and allow her to introduce herself to you. And we're going to talk about her successful, right at this moment, new selling book. And we definitely want you to go out and get that book. We know it's good.
Hi, I'm Mahogany Silverrain. Good to be back, and thank you for your kind words, Eric. Making me blush over here, but thank you so much for your support and everything. And I am excited about this new book. It started last year, and it's based on my actual experience with someone that I met last year. And it's it's called Wolf Daddy. So of course I write paranormal, so it's always going to be some aspect of it. It's got to be paranormal. So it is based on a true story, and I want my readers to kind of figure out at the end of the story which parts are true or not. And you're welcome to email me at mahoganysilverrain@gmail.com and see if you can figure out which parts are real and which parts are fictional. So it's my first BDSM romance, and it has to deal with, that's the whole umbrella. So underneath that, there's like subcategories. And this one is Daddy Doms and Little Girls, a role play. So if people are not understanding what those words mean, I did include a glossary in this book to give you an idea of what each of the terms used in the book and what they mean. So people who are new, and it's not 50 Shades of Gray, we go a little more deeper into that.
So, okay.
And they're werewolves, which is why it's called Wolf Daddy. And the main character is called Steely Blue. He is Gerald Brothers, who is a president of an MC club. So this is also my first motorcycle club. If you've seen the Mayans on TV, you've seen Sons of Anarchy, you got it, except they're werewolves. So that's the only little change to it. But it's been doing pretty good so far, and it's staying up there on Amazon. I thank you guys for doing that, all my readers and people who have supported me through everything. After losing my father last year, it had been a year since my last publication. So I kind of put things on hiatus, but we're back now. And I'm also back in Georgia, so which is cool. I do miss Colorado, but I'll be going back and forth. So this is really awesome. And I also want to thank the person who is, without him, I couldn't do this book, and that's Gerald. He is the muse, and he is also on the cover. Now, I wanted to have some copies with me so that I could show you, but they haven't come in yet.
So, okay.
I'm sorry about that.
Okay.
But I do have, it's Wolf Daddy, and it's called A Paranormal BDSM Romance Story. And it has his picture on the cover. It's kind of like leaning on a tree or something, but it's one of his like best poses. Mm-hmm. So, and he was just like in awe that I even did this. And it's a real tribute also to my father, who was also in the book. He is a DEA agent, which he really was in real life. And I based it on his tactics and things that I learned from him while I was taking care of him and the stories that he told me. So I kind of incorporated that. That's why there's so much in this book and why I'm so excited about it, because there's so much real events that happen in this story. Some are fictional, of course, and names have been changed to protect the guilty.
Okay.
So that's a twist. They say the name to protect the innocent, that's to protect the guilty. But also, I had to change the names because they are based on real cases. So even though the statute of limitations is out, I got permission to use these cases. So I think it's something that people really enjoy. And it's probably like 190 pages. So maybe it's not a real long read, but is action packed from beginning to end. There is a chase. There's a huge betrayal.
Mm.
There's a couple of little runs that, when motorcycle clubs say they do runs and they go out, most of them are involved in, if you've ever watched Sons of Anarchy, some of the gun running, drugs. So this one is a little more, it's a little dark. So because there are things in real life that are happening in the story. And it brings you to the love part and the redemption of the person who, because Steely Blue really wants to take his club to be legitimate because he already gives back to the community. He's well known. Even the sheriff is actually someone who kind of helped raise him because his dad went to prison when he was a little kid. So it has all these aspects in it that are just, I mean, the big moral of the picture is that love does conquer all. And also that we do find redemption for even if we've messed up or we think we can't get up from what we've done, there is redemption. So that's what I also put into it, but it's a lot of action.
Wow, wow, wow. So what's the okay? So you told the title. So I guess the question is, how do the two love interests meet?
Okay, they meet when Keiko, the main character, which is based on me, she is running from her abusive ex.
Okay.
She is human, and
Mm.
her ex is a werewolf, but he never changed her. They've been married for 4 years, and he never gave her the bite. So she's still a human being. So she endured his abuse as a human. So by the time she meets Gerald, she's kind of this broken, shy, kind of reverted back to her inner child. So when he finds her, he says, "Do you need any help, little one?" And she immediately responds to that as someone who she can see that is actually going to protect her. And he does offer her his protection, which, because she was from a rival my motorcycle club, which you call them NCs. So Gerald kind of takes her in, he and his family, his wife, and there's a another part called polyamory, if you've ever heard of that. And most of you, some people are not familiar with it, but
I'm learning. I'm learning. We're all learning, I think. Yes. Yeah.
well, he and his wife kind of welcome Keiko in and make her part of the family. And they become a love interest. They have their own relationship. His wife has her boyfriend, and that's her relationship.
Okay.
So it's kind of, it's that
Yeah.
dynamic until
Right.
things happen and come into play where that dynamic splits up.
Okay. Okay. Wow. So it sounds like it's also based on the motorcycle. Yeah, the motorcycle world. And did you have to do a lot of research? I guess you had a lot of terms. And did you do? Because I know that what I really love about you is your depth. You go in depth in terms
I
of
go in
research.
detail, yes.
Right. Right.
I
So
had to do
so
some
so.
research, but
Right.
yes,
Right.
mostly Gerald being a former member of a bicycle club, motorcycle club, he gave me a lot of detail
Okay.
and a lot of the ins and outs of their meetings and everything from the president, the vice president, they have a secretary, there is sergeant at arms, and each one has their jobs and what they're supposed to do. And there's roadmaster, the one who leads the runs, who's actually in part of doing the maintenance on each of the bikes. So everybody has their place in the hierarchy. And the just regular members are the ones who have their patches. So what
Okay.
I did was I created a patch for this fictional bicycle club. And I'm sorry, I keep saying bicycle, but it's motor. It's
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
motorcycle
Motorcycle.
club.
The real deal. Real deal. Mm.
So I use based on what they are, which is wolves, werewolves. So I took the skull of werewolves and crossed them like this. And
Okay.
I made, like the skull and bones, but, and it's called the Wolf's House MC. And they're wolves. And then the state that they're in is Colorado. So I created that patch, and Gerald was like, it looked like, something we would make, that would be actually on my jacket. So what I've also done is created t-shirts and things that people who read the book may want to have. They have the choice of getting a t-shirt, coffee mugs, water bottle, in addition, based on this book and using that patch, which is kind of cool. I see if I can pull it up real quick and show you, but while I'm doing
Right.
that, the neat part about it was even though it's fictional, I
Right.
used a lot of things from Mayans. I kind of see how they operate things as well. And I also researched, Hell's Angels. So I
Okay.
got a little
Okay.
bit of, yeah, the actual group. Um, and I do not use their names or anything, but I did research them and see what it's really like for women to be in MCs. And basically what Keiko is running from is what her former husband was doing, was using her. They a lot of times they'll use their old ladies as prostitutes, and
Wow.
they get passed around to club members. So
Wow.
that is part of the dark part in the story, is she is running from that. And Joel's club is totally different, where women are treated as equals. There are also
Okay.
female bikers, and there's some clubs can be all exclusive by race,
Right.
culture. So his club is different because it's open for
Okay.
anyone.
Okay.
These people along the way, and different, maybe guys that were lost, and he kind of helped them. They, became like, became the role model for them, and they joined his motorcycle club. So he's got all kinds of different people, from Hispanic to Black, Asian, it doesn't matter. And that was the cool thing about this, is that you can have a group that way. And they really do come together as this little mixed match family, which makes us kind of united, which I thought was really interesting when the characters started really coming out. And I based one or two characters on real people, but the rest of them were just characters that just started coming to me. So it was really interesting. You have the eldest person in the club that is actually Gerald's kind of mentor, and he is a former doctor who is a general practitioner. So his bicycle name is, well, his motor name is Doc. So
Okay.
he's the general. He kind of helps Gerald run things. It was co-founded by uh, Gerald's father and his uncle, which is really interesting because yes, that is true. That part is true. And they
Okay.
wanted to have a source of income for the wolves that lived in the mountains. So this was kind of their way of doing things, and not so legal, but it did help finance the club. And what they did was share it with the community, because it's really small rural towns that are in the foothills in Colorado, which I learned when I was living there. And Gerald would take me out to different places in Colorado. So we would drive a lot, and he would show me places like Vail and ask me which people are known. But then there's the smaller ones like uh, Golden, which is one of my favorite places because it's this cute little town. It's just really, they have this one main strip is the main street. It's surrounded by mountains. It's like this little town in the middle in the valley. And so I based my town from my book on Golden, but it's actually called Golden Tip in the book. And they're a small community, but they stick together. There is one college there, and but everyone takes care of everybody else. And so that's what I really liked it. So I incorporated that into the story. So
Wow.
yeah, there was a lot of things that I got inspiration from, going to Lookout Point, going to Highlands Ranch, the smaller areas around Denver. So it was really neat to see how the people kind of band together and they look out for one another. We always that we call it old fashioned because when you live in the big city, we kind of got away from that. But when I was growing up, you would get in trouble from every neighbor all the way down
Right.
to going
Right.
home because everybody and their mama was out watching you. So it was like, it really does take a village to raise a child. And they have adopted that, and they really do live it, to where they look out for one another. Even the sheriff looks out. He kind of turned his eye a little bit on some things, but because this is like his son,
Right.
and he actually has a ringtone for him whenever Gerald calls him, and it's the song "Carry On My Wayward Son" by Kansas. So I
Wow.
thought it was hilarious to put that in because whenever that ringtone, he's like, there's my boy, you know.
Yeah.
But so I really enjoyed that, and I really enjoyed writing this book. It was really cathartic and
Okay.
therapeutic for me, coming from an abusive first husband. So a lot of that part is true,
Okay.
but I'm a survivor. And I
Yes.
wanted to show that other people, other women and men, because men can be
Right.
abused as well, that there is hope, and sometimes you need to take that help that's offered.
Definitely. I see. I feel movie. I feel movie. I really feel because of your uh, research and just how you talk about it and how you verbally paint such a vivid. It leads to more questions. You know what I mean? I mean
Yes.
that we don't we it would take a day or two to ask. But I'm just saying that just you just you paint a picture, of and then I think did it happen? And I want to say that I also see in the future screenplay writers writing a movie script. I feel that for you. I feel
Yes.
that. I
I would
feel
love
that.
to do this as a movie.
I
Definitely.
feel, but I said besides even that,
Mhm.
actually becoming a screenwriter, I just feel that for you.
Yes.
And then the third thing I was going to say is say there's a lot of things, but with did it occur? Did the book actually occur? Did you incorporate COVID in the book? I'll just stop there.
Actually, I didn't, because it's
Okay.
kind of post COVID,
Okay, it's post COVID.
because the world is it's the supernatural world. So
Okay.
it's kind of we I didn't really incorporate too much
Right.
of the pandemic,
Right.
but because it's in a supernatural world where that kind of doesn't exist, and the only thing that does is lycanthropy, which is, of course, being a werewolf. So that's
Right.
the only kind of disease that you can really kind of catch. And you
Okay.
can only get it if you've been bitten by a werewolf, but there's a certain way they have to do it for you to turn.
Okay. And then
Oh,
you
I found the patch. I don't know if you can see that.
okay. Oh, that's nice. Wolf House with MC. Look, that's nice. That is, yeah, very interesting. Very nice. Um, I'm thinking I think being in the military, and I think I saw you were also a flight attendant. Um,
Yes.
yes. Does will those two things would that make a person a little bit more open-minded, see things a little bit more than, let's say, people like, say, if somebody just lived in Georgia and they really, I got a chance to live in New York, San Francisco, Houston, Texas, but there's a lot of friends of mine, or relatives, South Carolina,
Right.
and
Mhm.
went to school in South Carolina, and they didn't have an opportunity to
To
explore.
travel and get out, explore.
Right. I think
Exactly.
that had to help you just in the writing process and just being a creative person. Just, I'm just curious about that.
Yes, I did open up a lot of doors. Traveling back and forth, I stayed mostly in the West when I was a flight attendant, because I flew in and out of Denver International Airport, which is United, is the airlines I worked for. And so I got to see a lot of the West. I grew up in the South, but I'd never really seen, mountains. There weren't any mountains in Texas or in Louisiana for
Right.
that matter. So it was really a unique experience. And then with the Air Force, I did some travel, but not quite as much as I did as a flight attendant. So that was a lot of fun. I got to spend some overnights in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, and that is huge and it's beautiful. There's not a lot of territory that's been claimed. It's like open.
Okay.
And that was the first time I ever saw a reindeer,
Okay.
which was funny because
Mhm.
I was actually in the car with the two pilots that I was flying with, and we were driving to the condo where we stay. And it was funny because I said, "Oh my God, it's a reindeer." And he said,
Right.
"Yeah, like no biggie." And I said, "They're real?" Well, I never seen
Right.
we don't
Right.
have reindeers here in the South, so it's like,
Right. Right.
they thought it was
Yes.
funny. They were laughing at me because I'd never seen a reindeer. I said, "Well," I said, "Okay, so they don't fly, right?" And then by then I was joking.
Yeah.
Yes. And the first time I saw a moose, it was like, that's bigger than Bullwinkle. They are huge. So yeah, there I got to see a lot of, I actually got to see Mount Rushmore, which was
Okay.
really cool because I'd only
Right.
read about that in school and history. I'm a history buff, so I really, it was like this beautiful, when I saw it from the plane, it
Right.
was, that was like,
Wow.
I'm looking at history. And
Right.
that was like the biggest thing for me, is to see all these, landmarks and monuments that we have. And I was just floored. And it did give me a better perspective, because when I went to Jackson Hole, I was the only the only person of color. So I got stared at a lot, but it wasn't from tension that, oh, oh, she's a Black person. It was more out of curiosity.
Right.
And they were like, the only person we've seen is on TV, and that was Oprah.
Right.
So,
Right. Right. Right.
a person of color, in person, that was really cool for them. And
Right.
it was, I thought, I was like, wait a minute, should I run? Do I need to look for something?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And the pilot's like, no, you're the first one we've had coming with us on this run. And you're the first woman of color that we've had working in this area. And they don't
Wow.
actually get to see or meet. And so I got to meet a lot of people, and they were really sweet, very nice.
Right. What was your favorite, even the military or being the flight attendant? What was your favorite place to visit? On say two or three of your favorite places.
Two or three. I would say definitely Colorado.
Okay.
And then beyond that, like there's South Dakota.
Okay.
And like I said, Wyoming was one of my favorites.
Did
Jackson
you go out
Hole,
the
there's,
country? Did you go out the country
yes,
in there?
yes, I flew mostly domestic. So I didn't get to any
Yeah.
international flights, which
Okay.
I wish I could have, but
Right. Right.
no, I stayed domestic flights. But even then, it was really beautiful. And the unique thing about Jackson Hole is that you cannot enter it in a regular huge plane. You have to go in to what we call the smaller planes, where there's one flight attendant per 50 passengers.
Okay.
So it was a smaller plane. And then we have the one smaller than that, was the EMB 120, where it was only 20 to 30 people in a
Hmm.
smaller cabin. So there's no galley service in that one, but the one with 50 uh, passengers, you actually do have a service. So we would fly in and out of Jackson Hole, because you can't get the big ones, into the Teton Mountains. Now, these are huge mountains. And what was cool is that when I got to Jackson Hole the airport, I saw Oprah's plane, her private plane.
Wow.
And I didn't see her, but I
Right.
wish I could have. But I did see
Right.
her plane.
Right.
And I got to see Christy Brinkley.
Okay.
Also, was Kurt Russell and Goldie Hawn. I
Okay.
actually had Dudley Moore on my plane, which was
Okay.
awesome. He
Wow.
was flying in to go back to Denver, and he had, for the I guess it wasn't really popular back then, but he had one of the first mannies.
Okay.
It was a man, it was a male nanny, and I thought that was really
Okay.
cool.
Okay.
I really, enjoyed. I talked with the nanny for a little bit, and I also talked with Dudley. And my mother just loves him, so he signed an autograph from my mom for me,
Wow.
because she was, ever since he made Arthur, she loved those movies.
Yeah. Yeah.
So she really enjoyed that too. She's like, I can't believe you got to meet him. And I did actually meet Ben Vereen. Now, that was interesting.
Right.
For that was, and he really seems kind of down to earth, not as this, you think you see them and they're this personality that they show, but he was actually pretty cool. So,
Wow. Now, did the military? What did you go out the country there, any or?
no, I didn't. Again, I
Okay.
was domestic.
Okay. Wait. What? Now, where's your favorite place? Because I'm just. It's interesting, and I think it has to do with creativity, creating creativity as well. So, what was interesting to you? Places, I guess, with the military.
I would say New Mexico was one of the
Okay.
most interesting. It has a base inside of a mountain. So,
Mhm.
I mean, a lot of people know that now, so I can say that. I don't think it's a huge secret or anything.
Right. Right.
Right, but Kirtland Air Force Base in New Mexico, that was pretty interesting
Okay.
uh,
Okay.
location. And it was where I first saw my hot air balloon. They
Okay.
have a hot air balloon festival every October, and it's
Okay.
just gorgeous to see
Okay.
that.
Are black people there out there?
Yes, but I only saw them on Sundays. I'm like, where are you guys during the week?
And are there like Indians?
Yes, there's a Native American. There's reservations there,
Right.
mainly Navajo,
Okay.
and they're closer to Santa Fe, which
Right.
Santa Fe is beautiful, but it is a
Right.
desert. It's dry. I
Right.
will say that
Right.
it is. You have to use extra oil lotions because it is dry. It is
Right.
really dry there, but it's beautiful, and it's where I
Right.
got a lot of my silver jewelry and let's see, kind of my rings from the silver and the turquoise. There are just beautiful. You get a lot of blankets and things that they make, and they would sell on the way into Santa Fe.
Wow.
So it was a lot of. It was interesting seeing the Navajo people, but I also kind of thought, well, didn't like the fact they were reservations, but they have tribal lands. So that was, a good thing. And they had their own police, their own hospitals, and which I thought was really interesting. So to see that up close when I had never been even been exposed to anything like that, except for the museum in San Antonio, which is the Museum of Texan Cultures. It had kind of a little bit of the Native American things that they would, but they didn't have specific tribes. So it was kind of an amalgamation of things. But when I actually got to New Mexico, I could see for myself the land, the people, hear the stories, which I thought was, really cool. So it was the only other place besides Texas that I got to go with the military. So I wish I had gotten more out that with my MOS. It was pretty
Did
basic.
they interact with um people that are outside the tribe? There's some people, Indian people that
Yes,
okay.
they would.
Okay.
And
Okay.
most of the younger generation spoke English. So they were and they're a very, very wonderful people.
Right. Right. Well, this book is just it's yes, it sounds like a movie. I mean, could definitely be I mean, like a hit movie. And at where does do you wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning and ideas hit you? How does it how does
Sometimes, yes.
yeah, yeah,
Sometimes an idea will hit me. And I actually, as I got to Gerald and I started dating
right,
and I got to know him and
right,
the things that he would tell me, I'm like, this sounds like a book. I said,
right,
we've got to do this. I
right,
really, because the way that she feels when they first see each other, that's how we felt.
right,
So I'm really describing what I was actually feeling
right,
because just from seeing him in person, we'd only talked or texted on the phone, but when we saw each other in person, it was just it hit both of us. Like we
right,
knew this was going somewhere.
right.
So and I was like, this is what I write all the time, but I never really experienced it. So that's why I said this is my own romance book,
Yeah.
but it was funny. But yeah, it was also, it was a very cool feeling that I'd never really, and I've been married before, but I've never really had that to where I was just so drawn to someone like that, just on first meeting them. And he was very open and telling me about his life and the things that he went through. And, most guys talk about themselves, but they don't tell you right away the truth about their
Right,
background because
right, right.
we always want to put our best face forward and
That's true.
we try to hide what our flaws are until
Right,
till later. But no, he put everything out, and I respected him for that, and I admired him for that because very few individuals who are just come straight for look. I have a past. This is but it's not me anymore. This is who I am now. So I was mind blown, just like, okay, wow, this is, you know, I know this man is not gonna like me because he's giving me too much information to where, yeah. And he said, no matter what, ask me anything, I will tell you.
Did that
So
have something to do with that Western or Midwestern, whatever you want to call region, that they may be a little different than other parts of the country?
I think they are most definitely. Even the people of color, Black people that are there, are different. They're more so they didn't grow up with a lot of the inner city stuff that we have here in the South and in most places like New York, who have a lot of. There isn't that mentality there. That this is what we're stuck with, so we got to stay here. Not at all. many of the people I've met were educated, gone to
Yeah.
college,
Right.
experiences life living in the mountains, knew
Right.
how to fish, hunt, all kinds of things that, we don't really get. I mean, unless you're in deep South and you grow up learning those things, but I never learned those things. There was not a lot of, trees or learning how to track someone or something. So I think it was just really different. They have a different mindset.
Okay. How did some of your, I guess, closest uh friends or friends slash fans slash family, what was their take of this new book? I mean, I'm sure it's good, as
They
good. That's
were
why
they
I
were
asked you.
shocked,
Yeah.
but also because my mom says, she goes, I want to read this because she's in it as well as my dad.
Okay. Okay.
And of course, my mom's remarried, but I
Right.
put them back together in the book, and they
Okay.
were each other's first love. So
Okay.
what I did was the secondary love story in that is my parents.
Okay.
So it is. She's like, well, I want to read it, and I
Yeah.
said, okay, but there's one chapter you may not want to
Want
read.
to read? That's going to make her want to read it more.
Yeah, so she's like,
The
I
taboo.
said,
That's going to make her
I
want to
said,
read it more.
right. I was like,
Yeah.
that's something parents may not want to know about their child, but
Right.
but we are adults. And
Yeah.
yes, I said that's the sex part, mom.
Yeah.
She's like, I can still read the rest of it. Yeah, because so I think, and my children were like, oh, okay, because they're at the age now. I have grandchildren now, so they're like, oh, we can read mom's books now. So
Right. Yeah.
most definitely. So it was a little different, but I'm actually putting more of myself in this one.
Okay.
So the way that Keiko is really, it really is big.
Do
So
you feel
I feel a little exposed, but
okay? Okay. Do you think that this new COVID, um, it seems like people are trying to find themselves more doing COVID. Like people are not, well, I don't want to do this job. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? And I want to get a business, or maybe that's not the right person for me. Maybe, oh yeah, maybe I've been shy. Maybe I need to take a risk on finding. You know what I'm saying? It seems like people are exploring more during this COVID because period.
yes, I think it really forced them to look inside and introspect because we were all forced to stay home. I've been home. I've raised my kids at home. I've uh, had debilitating illnesses and things that have, happened to me. So where I was home. So it didn't bother me because I created a job for myself. I created
Right,
work, which I don't look at it as a job. To
right,
me, this is what I love. So a
yes,
lot of people had to, all of a sudden they were at home. What do I do? And
right,
so they were able to kind of not just gain the 15 pounds sitting around, eating, but also some people looked inside and maybe exposed some things in a relationship that, they realized, I don't really like this person. Why do when you had to, sit there and, be shut in with someone, you better make sure you really love them.
yeah,
There's a lot of divorces in 2020.
right.
Uh, as a matter of fact, I was one forced in
Okay,
2020, but it was amicable. It was a
yeah,
really good. He kept working. He was over the road truck driver, so we're
right, right,
still really good friends. But
right,
we realized that you know we had kind of run our course.
right.
So, but I think a lot of people had to do that and realize not only in their jobs, their work life, but in their home life. And that it was, realizing it was not easy to homeschool. And I
Right, right.
homeschooled my children where whoever the parents were used to make fun of me. But then when they were forced to do it themselves, and they're like, oh, this is really work.
Yeah.
I think we got to, So, oh yeah, send the kids back. They were like ready. But I think it helped change it and brought a lot of families closer as well. So there were some really good things to it because a lot of families who had, always been, we don't even sit at the table and eat together. Everybody's on their phone, everybody's on their laptop, everybody's, doing different things. But we were forced to come together.
True.
So I think a lot of good came out of that. And of course, the families were together making TikTok videos and things like that, which, people make fun of, but I think it actually brought a lot of families closer. And it, kind of, I got to do them with my grandchildren. So it was, it kind of brought everybody together, and it reinvented the wheel, I say, because now you have more businesses going to remote, occupations, so that we really can do these things from home. There's a lot that we can do from home, and you can still be a part of your family, but also set apart this time to, just like you and I are doing right now with the Zoom meeting. So I think that also changed how employers looked at, with the exception of restaurants.
Right.
Because, right. But they could still open, and they still did like takeout and delivery. You just couldn't eat there. But it also changed the game for a lot of food delivery services. You have Grubhub, you have Uber Eats, you have all these now that didn't really, they weren't really popular before COVID, in which now there's, DoorDash, and a lot of people have used that as a flexible way because maybe their college kids who are in college, they're trying to make some money. DoorDash. So it opened up some more employment opportunities and helped grow some companies. Now, for the small businessman who was a bricks and mortar business, it wasn't so great. And I feel awful that they were like basically hit,
Right.
But for people who, there's lots of huge businesses that closed down because, or smaller ones that closed down because they couldn't, survive without that steady income. So they've had to rethink how they do things. And now restaurants offer online menus, or you can, order it and pick it up, or, different things to kind of stay relevant with the times.
All right. Our time is coming, and like we could talk forever. We like almost down to a minute. Two things. Do you think? Well, yeah. Do you think that you may write something about COVID at some time in the future? That what you just talked about.
I think I would.
Yeah, I
I would
just
like
think
to
that
include.
you would be the person that has that capable of doing that. And then let me ask you, what do you want to take away? We almost less than a minute. What do you want people to take away from this new book?
I want them to take away the hope and love that is in there. And just like I said, we may do things, but that we are forgiven and there is redemption for us. And no matter what it is, and that people really can change.
Okay, we're gonna
So
stop it
that's
there.
the biggest thing.
We'll stop because it's almost ending. I'm gonna put all your, fan information that people can contact and get the book. And again, it was a beautiful and a great interview. And go get the book. Go get the book. And you have a beautiful day.
Thank you. You too.
Okay. 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 Bye bye.